What's going on, friends? Sean Pierce Johnson here. It's the first video that I'm doing of Winter NAMM 2020, and it's one of the ones that I absolutely had to do because we're here with my longtime friend, Mr. Aljon Go from Epiphone, the Gibson family of brands. We're here. You guys are moving on up from last year. We're on the 3rd floor this year, and we are in for an absolute treat for 2020 from Epiphone. Aljon, first off, it is awesome to see you again. Thank you so much for having us here. I really appreciate it.
Happy New Year, Sean.
Happy New Year,
Happy
buddy.
New Year, everybody.
All right, so 2020 is like the start of a whole new chapter for Epiphone. It's a whole new idea. It's a whole new breath of life. Tell us a little bit about those inner workings over the course of where we saw you guys last year at this time in 2019 to where we are today.
So last year was Gibson's big coming out party. We're coming back strong. And where I talk about maybe Gibson in general being Godfather Part 1, this is Godfather Part 2. Right? This is, Star Wars happened, and now it's Empire Strikes Back. And Empire Strikes Back means that Epiphone is coming back with a vengeance, like a phoenix rising from the ashes.
Yes. Episode 5!
Yeah, right? So yeah, we're having, you can see the scroll now, you know? And so what's going on is it really is our coming out party for Epiphone and Kramer. So many great things. We previewed Kramer last year. Kramer's starting to get into stores. We've got a lot of great new things going on for Kramer and of course Epiphone. Yeah. So the entire line is really mirroring what Gibson is doing. Once again, the whole thing about JC, our CEO, talking about how Gibson's the most relevant, the most played, the most loved brand, and we are working toward that. Epiphone is taking, of course, that same playbook, right? But we want to add that caveat of being the most accessible, brand. We have quality products that are being made, and our employees overseas that make these a part of the family, and they beam with pride. And I beam with pride here because this is a culmination of so many, months of worth of work. And so here's a culmination of that. It's the Avengers, right? I always have these pop culture references, right?
Oh, it's perfect. It works here.
This is Endgame. So here we are. And do you want to talk about some of these new models?
Yeah, let's kind of, we've already done a little walkthrough, and we have some B-roll of that you guys will be seeing throughout this whole thing. But there are some certain highlights for me as a player that they captivate my imagination and they captivate what I'm looking at. So we'll show some of the really new things under the Epiphone banner, and then we'll highlight a couple of my favorites that hopefully we'll see in depth more on the channel this year. But all I can say is, for someone who, it was interesting what you guys were saying with this new accessible idea. The catchphrase that I've heard is "at every stage."
Yep, it's for every stage.
For every stage.
Epiphone for every stage. It's for every stage of player, right? Whether you're a beginner just learning, whether you are a weekend warrior, whether you're a touring pro, whether you're a recording pro, or the highest level of musician that's out there, Grammy Award winner, it doesn't matter. It's for every stage. And for every stage, whether it's the bedroom, the coffee shop, or the O2 Arena, you have a guitar that is unique, that is yours, and that's what we want. We want everybody to pick it up for every stage.
And I can attest to that. As you guys sent the Jotun last year. For what you will end up paying for a guitar like that, I'm seeing a lot of that carry over. And one of the first ones I do want to talk about is this Muse series, because the finishes are very striking. And it seems like this is the SG of the future. So tell us a little bit about this Muse line in the SG range.
Right, so in our mirroring of Gibson, we have inspired by Gibson, and then a modern collection and an original collection. The originals are going to have those kind of appointments you would expect coming from Gibson Custom Shop or Gibson USA that harken back to the 50s and 60s. The modern collection is going to give players a more modern feel. It's going to have different, graph tech nuts. It's going to have a really nice nice neck, weight relief. Some of them are going to have push-pull pots. A lot of them have push-pull pots and things for added value, different tones that you can get from the guitar. So it's just a whole different mindset, So if you want something traditional, great, go for original. If you want something that's more modern, that has more modern type of finishes and feel, then go for a modern collection guitar. And the Muses are part of that. You've got 7 SGs and 7 Les Pauls that have a little bit slightly narrower nut, something similar to like the Vivian Campbell that you played. right? All right, Graphtec nuts, locking hardware, striking finishes. The Les Pauls are thinner. They have a belly scarf, modern weight relief. All of them have push-pull pots. So, so you're able to get the coil split, also a phase switch in there as well.
Let's pull that radio blue metallic off.
Here we are. We got the coil split. You got the phase right here. I'm sorry, coil split, phase switch here, locking hardware, and of course it's got this really great, all of them are metallic finishes.
That's one of the most striking things about them is these metallic finishes really do have a depth to them that really has to be seen to be believed. Like right next to this radio blue metallic is a very striking white metallic finish that really has a depth to it that I've not seen in a very long time with a metallic white.
It's hard to capture this on camera, but it's almost like Escalade, but not as yellow as an Escalade.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It does have that iridescent look to it. Yeah. And of course it has all the inspired by Gibson models, whether modern or original, will have the brand new headstock. There was a lot of rumblings about it, but this one here has got the Kalamazoo headstock. The story about that is when Gibson and Epiphone ended up merging in 1957, Epiphones were made at Kalamazoo, and this is the historic, small Kalamazoo open book headstock.
So, in a way to appease all of you out there that thought the Epiphone headstock was just so god awful, they've decided to go back into their history. Oh my God, Gibson's so old and whatnot, but what's old is new again. And you guys have actually been using this particular headstock shape on a couple other models for quite some time, haven't you?
Yeah, like the Wildcat.
It's no secret, people. It's been right in front of your faces all along.
That's right. And then you'll also notice a little Easter egg about the logo. What do you notice about the logo?
Well, being that I am so intimately involved with these kinds of guitars, there's something about the typeface of the logo, and not only that, the size of the logo. If you look real close at the Epiphone logo, it's written in the same font now as the Gibson logo, and to my eyes, just ever so slightly narrower so it doesn't go across the whole top of the headstock, meaning that it fits that aesthetic that everybody wants with those high-priced Gibsons. You have it accessibly in an Epiphone.
Exactly right. We put these little details and features in here, and we know that the fans are going to dig it. And I love Easter eggs, so there you go.
Well, there you go. That's one Easter egg down. We're going to move on to a couple other models that we want to show you. So let's take a little walk, shall we? The other model that really caught my eye, and something that as soon as I saw it, Aljon was kind enough to walk us through beforehand to show off things, but as soon as I saw this, I made a beeline and didn't even follow the tour group. We have an Epiphone version of the Les Paul Modern. Aljon, now I want you to kind of walk us through this, because to me, when I look at this really exemplifies to me inspired by Gibson, because the original and the modern concept introduced last year was a whole new way of organizing things. Now we have inspired by Gibson for Epiphone. Tell us a little bit about that idea in the modern collection.
So the modern collection really does take a playbook, a page, if you will, from Gibson and what they're offering. So you have here a modern Les Paul, and this particular one, or this line, will have weight relief to it, so it's a lot lighter, but still remains and has the same tone of a Les Paul that you know and love. You also have these really cool finishes here. So this one is jet black, graphite black. It's got a little iridescent, a little bit of a flake to it. You also have the coil splits, which puts it in the modern category, plus the phase switch. Epiphone locking hardware. This one also has the asymmetrical neck, just like the Gibsons, so just a little bit thinner toward the treble side. It fits in your hand very well. And it's got the neck joint, the modern neck joint. So the great thing about this is when you play into the upper frets, it feels a lot more comfortable. It doesn't feel blocky or chunky, so that feels really, really good. And you've got locking tuners on this Les Paul as well. Graphite nut, ebony fretboard, just like the Gibson. And you also have, these ProBucker pickups, which are basically Gibson pickups, all right? And these are ProBucker 2 and 3, so you're gonna get a really nice Les Paul, sound, plus the modern tones that you can get from all these different switching configurations on it. So there you have it.
And one of the things I can say in practice, because I don't know how you guys felt about the new modern neck carve, but pictures really didn't do it justice. When you actually feel it in your hand, it really does give you that upper fret access that you would want from a modern guitar, even though it might look like, oh, there's still some blockiness to this. You guys did another access heel that seemed like it would be a little bit better. This one actually, despite a little bit of an odd look, it does work, and it feels really good. So it's just really cool to see. This was the model that I was most excited about in terms of the modern Gibson collection, seeing it come over to the Epiphone. There we go.
Accessibility.
Accessibility, there you go. He's got it all right there. A couple more things we do want to show you. More towards the vintage spectrum of things. So let's go take a look. The vintage spectrum of things, this is really exciting because we all know the stories. We all know the legends. We all know the lore. We're going in deep here. Epiphone is bringing us a replica 1959 Les Paul Standard in various shades of burst. Aljon, tell us a little bit about this very bold move on your guys' part to celebrate the burst as Epiphone.
Right. Once again, it's all about being accessible, right? And what's more iconic than our Les Paul, right? There's hardly anything more iconic than a Les Paul. And because of that synergy that we spoke about earlier between Custom Shop, Epiphone, Gibson USA, and Acoustic, this is really a culmination of our synergy together and working with Custom Shop to develop a most accurate but accessible model that we can possibly make, right? You've got a maple top, you've got the mahogany, solid mahogany back, long neck tenon like Custom Shop. You've got burst pro buckers, 2 and 3s. You've got the plastics that are not beveled, just like Custom Shop. It's got that edge to it. Dial pointers, all right. Inside, you've got CTS pots, hand-wired, Mallory tone capacitors, vintage tone caps, vintage wiring, and it's a limited edition. So like Custom Shop that celebrates their Custom Shop heritage, we're also celebrating our heritage as Gibson's older brother since 1873.
That's right, people. Epiphone older than Gibson, for those of you that did not realize that.
Right. We even took it a step further and developed, once again, by getting our Custom Shop tuners and basically cloning those Custom Shop tuners. You can see through them, so it's got that look, it's got that vibe. Kalamazoo headstock with a Graphtec nut. And when it's available, this is actually going to drop closer to Summer NAMM, but we decided to go ahead and get some really cool feedback and orders from our dealers. Because it's a limited run, this is going to come with a COA and a brown and pink vintage style case along with it. So it's limited edition. You've got these 2 bursts, and it's also got a vintage gloss finish like a Jared Nichols, so it's got that kind of almost VOS feel to it. And of course, it's all solid mahogany, maple cap, AAA maple top veneer, and it also has Switchcraft parts, like the Gibson. Okay. So you've got a Switchcraft toggle and a Switchcraft output jack right here. The plastics are the same kind of square, that in the same dimensions as Custom Shop. So, and when it ships, these are prototypes, but when it ships, it's going to have a rosewood fretboard. All things CITES and everything, but right. Yeah, rosewood. So
now that our rosewood is free from all legalities and whatnot, we have our rosewood again.
We intend to have rosewood on this when it comes out. So
and I do like the choice of the Heritage Cherry, the dark aged sunburst. I mean, there's nothing more iconic than a 59 burst. Having it in an Epiphone version that, as this theme has been accessibility, there's so much more that we could show you. I feel like we'd be rambling and we'd be saying the same things and we'd be gushing like nobody's business. I just want to say that as someone who has played Gibson and Epiphone for a very long time and met this guy when I was first getting my start in the business, this is really an incredible thing to see. It's crazy to think where we were 3 years ago, where we were last year, and now where we are today. This is completely different, and I know what's out there. I know the vibe that's out there, but trust me when I say there are people behind this company that really do care, and 2020 is going to be a year where your vision becomes 2020 on this brand. They're going to be surprising you with a few other things that we can't show you. So if you would like to see that, they might need to make sure that they subscribe, keep watching, so that I can get to Summer NAMM, so that maybe at Summer NAMM there will be more to see from Gibson, Epiphone, and Kramer. Quick little teaser. How's Kramer coming along?
Kramer's great. They're in stores. You got to order them. You got to check them out for yourself, and there's so much more. We've got 3 new artist models that we're showing off with the new Charlie Parra Vanguard, Dave's the Snake Sabo from Skid Row and his Snake graphic Beretta, and we also have Tracy Guns and his Gunstar Voyager. Definitely great stuff on the horizon for Kramer, as well as some really nice art stuff that you will see probably in some B-roll somewhere.
Maybe. We'll see what happens, but what matters right now is I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. Aljon, thank you so much again for your hospitality.
No, anytime. Thank
My
you.
man.
Thank you.
So, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little look at a couple of the things that you're going to be seeing from Epiphone this year. If you want to see more from Winter NAMM, please click the subscribe button, click the bell, turn on the notifications, and if you want to help support the channel, Patreon link is below. Until next time, my friends, for Aljon Go, for the Gibson family of brands, I am Sean Pierce Johnson, wishing you all out there great tone and happy stomping.